What if a single video could change your life forever? One morning, she thought it was just another silly post, a laugh for her friends. But by nightfall, her phone buzzed endlessly. The screen lit up with messages she never expected. Faces she had never met were laughing, mocking, even threatening. Every comment felt like a tiny crack in her world. She tried to ignore it, tried to scroll past the hatred, but the screenshots, the shares, the endless reposts, they followed her everywhere. How loud can silence feel when the whole world is pointing, judging, waiting for her to break? She asked herself, if everyone is laughing at me, does my voice even matter anymore? And then she disappeared, her phone offline, her social media empty, her bedroom a silent witness to the storm that had consumed her. Was this a digital accident, or had the internet taken more than it ever should? The next morning, the world had already changed. She scrolled through endless feeds of strangers dissecting her every move. Some laughed, some criticized, and some sent messages she couldn't even read without shivering. Even friends whispered in hallways, eyes darting, smirks barely hidden. The laughter followed her to school, to the cafeteria, even to classes she once loved. Every glance felt like a lens, every whisper like a headline. She realized that in one night she had become a public spectacle, a target she could never escape. And yet, she couldn't stop checking her phone, couldn't stop watching the storm grow. How do you breathe when the world is pointing? By mid-afternoon, the notifications became a storm she couldn't escape. Every ping made her flinch. Every screenshot circulating online made her stomach twist. She wondered if the people sharing it realized the damage they were causing. Did they see the fear, the shame, or just the joke? She sat in the library, pretending to read, but her mind replayed the comments, the edits, the cruel captions. And somewhere deep inside, a question gnawed. If this is the world now, can anyone truly be safe from it? That evening at home, she locked her bedroom door and tried to escape. She watched videos of herself, some kind, many cruel. The screen reflected back a face she barely recognized. Her room, once a safe space, felt like a cage. Every ping, every notification was a reminder that the world could invade even here. She realized that going viral wasn't fun. It was a trap, a spotlight that burned too bright for anyone to stand in without getting scorched. She hugged herself tightly and asked silently, "Who will see me is more than a joke." Night fell, but sleep was impossible. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of her computer, the ticking clock, even the soft breeze through the window. Her mind raced through every insult, every share, every laughing emoji. She wondered if her friends were laughing too, behind closed doors, if her life had already become a story they told without her. And somewhere in the quiet, a thought settled in her mind. Maybe disappearing entirely would be the only way to reclaim control over a world that no longer felt hers. The messages became sharper, the jokes darker. Friends stopped coming by, avoiding her gaze in hallways. Even her phone felt like a trap. Every notification a reminder that she was being watched, judged, humiliated. She questioned every word she had typed, every picture she had shared, as if the internet had a memory that never forgave. The room she once felt safe in now echoed with whispers she could only imagine. Every day felt like walking through a storm, invisible but cruelly present. And she started to wonder if the world would ever be kind again. At school, whispers became louder. The cafeteria seemed like a battlefield. Lunch trays clattered, and every glance felt like an accusation. She noticed people filming her, capturing her nervous gestures, her forced smiles. Even the teachers seemed distracted, unable to see the weight pressing on her. Her sanctuary had vanished, replaced by the feeling that someone, somewhere, was always ready to turn her life into a punchline. She tried to speak, tried to explain, but words felt weak against the tide of cruelty. At home, she tried to retreat further, but the storm followed her into every room. Screens flashed with cruel memes, edited images, and mocking captions. The once familiar glow of her laptop now felt like a predator's eyes, tracking her every move. Even the people she thought she could trust were now part of the spectacle. Friends forwarding posts, laughing at jokes she couldn't escape. Every shared image was a little piece of her disappearing, leaving only anxiety and a deep, gnawing fear that she might never be seen as herself again. Sleep became a stranger. Nights were filled with the echo of notifications, imagined voices, and relentless fear. Her body ached, her mind raced, and even the softest noises made her jump. She tried to write it down to release the thoughts, but the paper seemed empty, incapable of holding the weight of her panic. She wondered if anyone understood, if anyone could see the real her beneath the digital storm. Somewhere deep down, a thought began to form. Maybe she could disappear without anyone ever truly noticing. By the end of the week, the weight was unbearable. Her reflection in the mirror felt foreign. Eyes haunted, smile forced, skin pale from sleepless nights. She no longer recognized herself. Even simple tasks felt monumental. Brushing her hair, eating a meal, leaving her room. All felt like climbing a mountain while being watched. And the questions lingered. Why are they doing this? Will it ever stop? Can I ever return to a life that feels safe? Or has the internet claimed me entirely? The whispers became shouts. Every hallway, every classroom felt like a courtroom where she was already guilty. Screens flashed with edited images of her face, captions cruel and relentless. Even people she trusted laughed quietly at memes she hadn't consented to. She felt like a ghost in her own life, trapped in a body that had become a public spectacle. A single screenshot had grown into a tidal wave, and she realized there might be no escape from the judgment raining down from every corner of the digital world. Her phone vibrated endlessly, each buzz like a slap. Messages piled up, threats, insults, cruel edits of her videos. Even strangers online seemed to know her routine, her habits, mocking every move. While she couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, the digital crowd had taken everything. Her privacy, her peace, her sense of self. She started to wonder if disappearing was not an act of defeat, but the only way to survive. Even friends betrayed her. A video she had shared in private somehow leaked, now turned into a cruel meme that spread like wildfire. Someone she trusted laughed at it, sharing it further. Her heart broke not just for the humiliation, but for the realization that trust no longer existed in a world where clicks mattered more than care. Her room, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage of mirrors, reflecting only mockery and betrayal. Her reflection in the mirror now felt like a stranger's. She barely recognized the pale, haunted face staring back. Every smile felt forced, every word heavy. Even her parents, worried but distant, seemed unable to reach her. The internet had claimed her life piece by piece, leaving only a shadow behind. And she wondered silently if anyone would care when she finally disappeared from all their screens. By the end of the week, she couldn't tell day from night. Notifications never stopped. Screens followed her into the bathroom, the kitchen, her bedroom. Even silence felt loud, echoing with imagined laughter. She realized that the world she had once shared photos and jokes with had become a battlefield. She couldn't survive. Somewhere deep in her mind, a quiet thought grew louder. Perhaps vanishing entirely was the only way to take back control, to escape the cruelty that had taken everything she loved. The next morning, Ava's bed was empty. Her phone lay untouched, her laptop closed. No messages, no posts, no trace of her presence. At first, people assumed she had simply slept in, or gone for a walk. But as hours passed, the tension grew. Every notification she should have sent was missing. Every post she usually liked remained unseen. A chilling thought crept in. She wasn't just offline. She had vanished entirely. Panic spread quickly among her friends and family. Calls went unanswered. Texts ignored. Social media accounts untouched for hours that felt like lifetimes. Even classmates whispered nervously, realizing that Ava, the girl they had laughed at, teased, or ignored, was now missing. The irony was bitter. The same digital world that humiliated her had no way of holding her in its grasp once she stepped away. And for the first time, her absence made them all feel powerless. The online world erupted. Posts speculated, rumors spread, and the digital crowd debated endlessly. Had she run away? Was it a stunt? Or had something far worse happened? Screens filled with theories, some cruel, some worried, but no one had answers. And in the chaos, the very people who had tormented her paused, if only for a moment, to wonder if their laughter had gone too far. Her parents searched every corner of the house, called neighbors, tried to piece together her last steps. But the world outside was vast, and her digital life offered only fragments. Every closet, street, and park became a potential hiding place. Every unanswered phone call a heartbeat of fear. The question lingered in every mind. Was she safe? Or had the cruelty that followed her for weeks finally broken through the real world? Hours stretched into a long, trembling night. Outside, the wind whispered through empty streets. Online, the world continued debating, posting, watching, and judging, unaware that a real person was missing behind their screens. The silence of her room echoed louder than any notification, louder than any joke or meme. And in that silence, a life vanished, leaving only questions that might never be answered. The news spread faster than anyone could process. Headlines screamed about the missing teen, while social media exploded with theories. Some expressed concern, others reveled in gossip. Photos of Ava circulated endlessly, taken out of context, edited, and shared millions of times. Her life had become a story that everyone wanted to tell, but no one truly understood. Her absence was now a spectacle, and the digital world that had tormented her found a new way to watch from afar. Her parents sat through endless interviews and phone calls, answering questions they didn't have the strength to answer. Every reporter seemed to want a statement, a soundbite, a reaction. But grief doesn't come neatly packaged. Her absence had shattered the quiet life they once knew, leaving them in a storm of uncertainty and fear, haunted by the thought of how quickly the world could turn against someone it once ignored. Friends scrolled through social media, some feeling guilty for their past laughter or silence, others numb with disbelief. They realized too late that a joke, a share, or a comment could hurt more than words ever should. Each post, each tag, reminded them of a girl they had known and ignored, now absent and untouchable. The digital world had amplified their voices, but it had silenced hers forever. The online crowd debated endlessly. Some blamed her disappearance on her choices, others on the cruelty of strangers. Hashtags trended, arguments flared, and screenshots of her past life were dissected and repurposed. The irony was bitter. Those who had tormented her now argued about her fate, unaware of the real human life they had pushed to the edge. Her story became a lesson, but not for her. It was for everyone watching. Night fell again, and silence returned. But it was empty now. Ava's room remained untouched, her digital life frozen mid-scroll. The world outside had moved on, but those who remembered her felt the weight of absence keenly. A life had been consumed, a story turned into a cautionary tale, and the haunting question lingered. In a world so obsessed with screens and clicks, how many lives are quietly crushed before anyone notices? Days turned into a blur of searches, calls, and endless scrolling. Liam retraced every step Ava had taken, speaking to classmates, checking social media for clues. Each screenshot, each repost, became a potential lead. But the harder he looked, the more invisible she became. The internet that had captured her in every frame now seemed powerless to help. And somewhere, deep in his chest, a quiet fear grew. What if she didn't want to be found? Meanwhile, Ava's parents revisit every memory, every conversation, searching for signs they had missed. Her favorite books, her photos, her notes, all were clues they hoped might guide them. Every unanswered call, every unopened message from friends became a painful echo. They realized too late that love alone could not shield her from the cruelty of millions, and that the very people who should have protected her had been powerless against the relentless reach of the internet. Friends who had once laughed at her posts now scoured every online corner for answers. Screenshots, reposts, and old videos became breadcrumbs in a digital maze. Each clue was both a reminder of her presence and a dagger of guilt. They realized how fragile privacy had become, how quickly a shared joke could turn into a tragedy, and how impossible it was to untangle the damage once it spread online. Flashbacks haunted every step. The laughter in the hallways, the whispers in classrooms, the cruel edits of her videos. Each memory felt like a breadcrumb leading nowhere. They saw her fear, her hesitation, her attempts to retreat, and they wondered if they had acted sooner, spoken up, intervened, could they have stopped her from vanishing? The haunting truth lingered. The internet doesn't forget, and neither do the scars it leaves behind. The search grew frantic. Messages from strangers offering help, tips from concerned neighbors, even private detectives joining the effort. But every lead ended in silence. Ava's trail was cold, her presence gone from both physical and digital worlds. And yet, hope lingered in small details. A favorite book left open, a half-written note, a message drafted but never sent. Somewhere, hidden in the fragments, was a hint that she might still be out there, waiting to be found. Weeks passed, and Ava's disappearance remained unsolved. The digital world continued its relentless churn. Hashtags faded, posts deleted, comments archived, but the memory of her lingered. Those who had tormented her or ignored her now faced quiet reflection. What if every share, every laugh, had mattered more than they realized? Her absence was a mirror, showing how cruelty spreads silently, how laughter at someone else's expense can leave scars that never heal. Her friends gathered quietly in her bedroom one last time, touching objects she had left behind. Books, notes, photographs. Each item was a piece of her that still existed, a reminder that a real person had been behind every screen. The reality was clear. A life cannot be captured fully in likes, shares, or comments. The internet had forgotten the girl, but they had not forgotten the person. The online community debated endlessly. Some claimed she had run away. Others feared the worst. Screens flashed, news cycles churned, and the digital crowd moved on. Yet for those who had known her, the lesson was painfully clear. A single post, a single joke, a single screenshot can become more than content. It can become a weapon. And in that weaponized world, empathy must be the shield. Her fate remained partially unknown, but her story had already left a mark. In classrooms, families, and online spaces, people whispered her name, shared her story, and questioned their own actions. How often do we pause to consider the weight of a click, the impact of a share, or the pain behind a meme? Ava's disappearance became a warning, a reminder that real lives exist beyond the screen, delicate and irreplaceable. In the quiet, one question lingered. If you were the one watching, sharing, laughing, what would you do differently? Could a single act of kindness have changed everything? Ava's life was a cautionary tale written in pixels and whispers, a haunting reminder that the world we build online can either protect or destroy. And sometimes, the most powerful voice is the one that chooses empathy over judgment, silence over cruelty,